allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I will now introduce the Board of Directors. So we have Mike Rowley. We have Madeline de Maintenon, Jonathan Henderson, Tasha Woods, and I'm Jason White. Also, we are joined by Superintendent Ginger Haber and the Executive Director of Student Services, Kelly Kronbauer. We also have two of our student reps with us here tonight. So thank you both for being here. Yay. All right, so board, up first, we have the consent agenda. After consulting with Tasha, the regular board meeting minutes, the link isn't opening, so I don't think we were able to look at that. So I'm going to move that we put that on the consent agenda for our next board meeting. I think I have to have a second to that. Oh yeah, and I should motion it. I should call for a vote. Would someone like to make that motion?
I move that we put the regular meeting minutes on the next consent agenda.
Okay. I second. All right, thank you. Mike has moved that we move our regular meeting minutes from September 28th to our next meeting consent agenda, and Jonathan has seconded. Any discussion? All right, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you for that. All right. However, we do have two other items on the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Mike moved that we accept the consent agenda and Madeline has seconded. Any discussion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, consent agenda approved. That will take us to administration. Ginger, the superintendent's report.
Yes, Bart. So I want to start by saying I had a wonderful afternoon today at Ida, Nace and Aronica, right here in this beautiful building. And tonight we have the gift of having Stephanie Teasley with us tonight. She is our stream specialist here at Ida. And I had a chance to see her in action the last time I was at Ida doing Starbucks Cafe with her students, and asked her if she'd be willing to share out just the innovative ideas that she has and all the great work that she's doing around STREAM in our library. So Stephanie, come on up.
Awesome. Short people. Thank you for inviting me, and I just find it an honor to get to share with you what's happening here at Ida Nason. So it looks like we're getting our little slideshow up so you can kind of see those pictures, because that's really important as I share with you. But while we're waiting for that to pop up, just thank you again for inviting me, and it's just been a joy to jump into this new position at Ida in STREAM and the library, to work with amazing staff and students. And I'm especially honored for the team that I get to work with as well. Sue Hansen, our library aide, is here, and Principal Joanne Duncan. It's been just a true dream to have such an amazing community and team. So as you can see on our presentation here, Library Stream is so fun and so exciting, and our focus and the heartbeat of our school is being change makers. We want to be change makers that have an impact not only on our day-to-day, but on the world as we move forward as learners. And so I thought I'd start there and just tell you a little bit about our library space. It's beautiful. Come visit if you haven't seen it. It's really amazing. And we are really focusing on the idea of seasons and cycles. And in the center of our library, we have a seasons tree that connects to our building, like you've seen. So it's a great reminder of what our building was named after, and such a great celebration for kiddos. But we've kicked off the year so far talking about what it means to be a change maker and reading our community book called The Circles All Around Us, that was written by Brad Montague. And as the kids have read this book, we've been challenging them to grow their circles and to step out in courage as leaders and learners. And so they each created some art, like the circle art you see up on the presentation, that will be hung up. It hasn't been installed yet, but it'll be hung up for the year as a reminder that we are change makers. And I just added that picture. We've been talking about anti-bullying, and this week the kids have been signing an agreement. And so I just thought that was a great connection to our library as the heart of our school and just a hub for change. So I wanted to add that this summer, Sue and Ellen Walton from Mount Stewart genreified our library, which is so exciting. So our nonfiction section, and it's just been such a treat to have that experience for our students. A genreified library organizes books by like topic or subject. So there's a mystery section and a humor section, and it's really a benefit to students, and it increases engagement. It helps students that might be a little worried about finding a book have a place to go. It increases circulation, and it's been pretty exciting. So thank you for letting me celebrate our space with you. And you can go to the next slide. But as we've been learning our space, we are really celebrating the power of stories, not only the stories that we read, but our own stories. And so like Ginger noted, thank you Teachers Pay Teachers for a great resource. We transformed our library into Starbucks. Students were welcomed into Starbucks. Our Starbucks cafe, they got to sit at fancy tables and taste test genres of books. So it was super fun. They had a place setting, and at every table, they got to taste test something different. And as they liked the taste of their book, they got to put that on their plate. So they drew a picture, and then they got to leave with a plate full of good tasting books as they left the library. And it was so exciting to see kids grabbing books that they wouldn't normally read and being excited about it. And even then seeing them come back for checkout and say, oh, I had that happen today. Remember that book, Mrs. T, that was on the table? Can I find that today? So that's been really a great way to connect kids to stories and other resources. And the older kids, as we have, as an extension of our Starbucks cafe, we've been taking genre personality tests to help them find good fit books. So I have a gift for all of you, your own genre personality test that you can take. And then there's a score, like a sheet in the back. And these, it's been so fun. Our staff did, some of our staff did it too. And it is a great way to find books that fit you. And you'll be surprised at how much it really connects you to books that you actually like. But we're also celebrating stories with our youngers through storytelling. So you can see on those two other pictures, some excited kinders with their elephant and piggy books, pretty engaged in learning and collaborating together. And the reason I keep saying stories is just, I really feel like that as we read stories, as we tell our stories, that's what connects us to our experiences and to others. And it's really the heart of how we learn. So I wanted to share a little bit about some of that with our younger learners on the next slide. So you can move to the next slide. So I just really believe in the power of play and what comes from that. And so, and just that kids of all ages have such a gift of that exploration hardwired in them. And so by connecting books and stories through the use of materials and building manipulates, our Mustangs have been asking questions and finding stories in their materials. So through story workshop, playful inquiry looks like exploration in a learning environment that inspires curiosity, creativity, connects students, nurtures empathy, and values different perspectives. So you can see all the action in these pictures. Kids are collaborating, they're problem solving, they're engineering, they're language skills, agency, early skills, they're negotiating. It's so exciting, all through the power of a question prompt. So we read a book called Not a Box in these pictures, and the kids were challenged, if you had an empty box, what would you turn it into? And so there's castles and all kinds of things happening there. So we are diving into story workshop through playful inquiry as it connects back to stories in the library as well. And I've talked so much about reading. I just wanted to share a little bit with you about that stream component of library this year, which is so fun and exciting. So you can go to the next slide. So our focus here at IDA, we really want to embrace Ida Nason Aronica and her story. And we have been given the gift of that heritage here in this building. And so we're connecting to Indigenous stories. And we're really focusing on the since time immemorial standards. And with the help of Megan Rivard through PEI and Field STEM, we're diving into those Indigenous stories and honoring place and honoring people. So we've just jumped into this, and I'm really excited about it. The kids have been introduced to two stories so far, told by Roger Fernandez, who is a native storyteller and educator from the lower El Qualam tribe. And so you can see a student here. We talked about Salmon Boy and the power of the story, that the values that we can learn from it, and we got to learn some art. And so she is creating a salmon based on the 3 shapes we learned that they use in their the Coast Salish art. So and she's illustrating or painting it, which was really exciting. And so we started here as an introduction to oral storytelling and the power of hearing stories without the visual. And you would have been amazed had you come in. The kids, you could hear a pin drop. They were so captivated by listening. And as we move forward, after we've been introduced to the idea of oral storytelling and the values behind that, I'm so excited about where we're headed, but just wanted to note that through all of this, we're connecting to the Common Core standards in ELA, in visual arts, in math, the next generation science standards, the ISTE standards, AASL standards. So it's pretty cool how it comes full circle, connects back to the library, and gives kids this agency to connect to place. So many words and so much to tell you. You can tell I'm excited about what I get to do. And I love that I had the opportunity to share with you. And I think, was that the last slide? One more, we'll go to the next slide, sorry. So again, this was us connecting back to those stories. So the story that you see on the big picture, that's Roger Fernandez on the screen. And this was Ayayeshkro, which is actually from the Yakama Nation. And I won't tell you the story, but if you go look up Roger Fernandez and you watch, it'll connect you back to that. But what was so beautiful about this is not only we got to listen and hear this story, we got to connect it to our place, but we got to look in our display case and say, look at this basket, the one that's in the yellow in the middle. And we got to talk about the patterns and the values that came out of that story. And it was real connection. And the kids were just amazed. It was so exciting. So that's just a taste of where we're just getting started, but I'm so excited. So thank you for the honor to get to just share my excitement with you about what's happening at IDA. So thank you. And I have this for you guys for later.
Board, do you have any questions for Stephanie?
Yeah.
They're not really questions, I swear.
Okay.
That is amazing
Yeah.
and beautiful what you shared, and how play and the library is the heart, and how it can be cross-curricular and hit all of those standards that are out there with that inquiry. And just your passion and your professionalism is like, I don't even think this gym can contain it. So thank you for sharing that with all of our kids here, because that is incredible. And that's the goal. That's the end goal right there. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was awesome. I also, since Joanna's here, I asked her if she'd come up and share. I had an opportunity to go to their professional learning communities. As you know, board, this is a real focus for us here in this district. And just as a reminder, I'll send out the link again on Thursday. There is a training for professional learning communities for board members. It's by Zoom, so you can, turn your video off and listen if you need to do some other things at home too. But it's really, I think it would be really important if you can to at least listen to some or part of it. They do record it, so we can share the recording. But the other thing that Janelle often does is she'll probably put you into chat rooms with other board members, so you can kind of hear what other board members are thinking about around professional learning communities. So would encourage you to do that. And anyway, I was at IDA today and had a chance to walk with Joanne and Pearl, who's our MTSS coordinator, and I got to see her in action, and it was just truly a joy. We did kindergarten, and there they had just done a little pre-assessment with math, and I was just learning so much from the teachers and what some of the misconceptions they saw, and some of the ways that many of the students actually had already hit that standard and were proficient, and yet there were some that they knew that they were going to have to work with. So they're really using that common assessment to say, okay, okay, now we kind of know where the students are at. Now, as we're doing our lesson, we can better, make sure that students that already have this concept, that we're giving them ways to deepen their understanding, and then be able to give extra, support to students that were just learning it. So, and then we also had a chance to see, I think, first grade and fifth grade. And so, Joanne, do you want to just come up and just talk a little bit about your PLCs? And then you shared a great story that had a snake in it with outdoor ed.
Yeah, so thanks for allowing me a few minutes to talk about those things. And I just want to thank Stephanie for coming up to share. And you guys, like you said, you could just feel like the gym could barely contain her excitement and passion. And that's what it's like here at IDA. Like, I can't wait to get to school, not only to talk with all of our teachers here that are so passionate about what we're doing and are on fire for high levels of learning for all student in very innovative and creative ways, but to also see the students. And like Ginger said, our PLCs right now, I feel like are on fire. So on fire every Wednesday. This is my t-shirt I got at the PLC conference. And those of us that went to the conference, we wear our PLC shirt every Wednesday. And I love, you can see on the front, teacher, mentor, inspire, educate, coach, share, influence, and encourage. And in our PLCs, those are all the things we're all doing because we are all learning together. And when our teachers and our staff are learning, then we know our students are learning as well. So like Ginger shared, we have teachers really coming up with those power standards. They're using our instructional growth cycle and just excited to talk about student learning and knowing what are we going to do? What are we going to do for those kids that already have this standard? And what are we going to do for those kids that haven't met it yet? So just great things happening in our PLCs. You're welcome to come and check it out for yourself, and would love to have you. And then another exciting thing that's happening is we are partnering with Mount Stewart with the nature study area. So Kathy Kiefer created a shared calendar between the buildings so teachers can sign up to go visit the nature study. And so our first grade team has already done that, and they had a great experience yesterday. They got to walk down there, and on the way, one of the teachers shared they saw a snake in the road, and it was the most incredible experience. Like, what are we going to do about the snake? And the teacher was able to kind of get it out of the road. They were so worried, but they got to watch it slither. And so now they have this great shared experience that they'll be able to write about the snake. They had a wonderful time in the nature study, and we are just so grateful for this beautiful school, grateful our community has supported this, our board, our superintendent. It truly is amazing, and we have amazing educators here and students and families. And this is the time, like, we are a field STEM school. We're working with Megan Rivard because the problems we face as a planet are huge. And if we don't give kids opportunities to connect with nature and know what we need to protect and what are we going to do about our resources, if we don't give them that opportunity now, it'll be way too late. We have to get kids so having the opportunity to get off their device, get off a TikTok or whatever they're doing, and like get outside. They love it. They love it. They came back on fire from the nature study. So we're just excited to keep doing more. So thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. And thank you, Stephanie. Let's give Stephanie a hand. I thought she did a nice job. All right. So if you want to pull up my PowerPoint there. So board, appreciate those folks who board members that were able to come to Ida Nason. We had just an absolutely phenomenal night. I think we all experienced the joy of and the significance of that event, and really bringing cultures together and coming together for a common purpose for our students. And really, as Joanne was sharing for Ida, valuing really embracing some of those values that Ida had around honoring the land and learning about how to take care of nature and Appreciate, I know Jason, Tasha, Jonathan, I know you guys were able to come, and it was just wonderful. It's just a wonderful experience. And I really just thank so much Anthony and Tony and, the grandsons of Ida for being there. And we're staying in touch with them. I know that we're meeting with Randy Yellowfish, right, soon. And one of his suggestions was to do a garden. And so we met, Joanne, myself, Rhonda Schmidt, and Megan Rivard met today to apply for an outdoor grant to put a garden. And we were just looking at where we would put it today, but we're kind of looking over where the orange fence is. There's that area that's right there in front because it already naturally has water in it. So we were walking around it and visioning pumpkin patches, and maybe like in Toppenish, they have what's called a healing garden. So we're kind of reaching out to them to see what other ways people have used community gardens to really honor our Indigenous families and culture. So super excited about those things. And I know Rhonda is thinking about is going to try to do a grant to get bikes for the ALE students so that they could ride their bikes to the nature center, so that, because she really wants to get them outdoors and doing more of that as well. So lots of good things there. And then of course, next slide, please. We had a great time at Lincoln, and thank you, Tasha, for really, Tasha did a nice job summing up the importance of us all really supporting each other, because it takes all of us together to help our students succeed. And this young lady at the top was amazing. She sang the Star Spangled Banner a cappella and hit like every note. She was absolutely phenomenal. And you can see we had a good celebration. We had teachers there that had been from multiple generations back there to be, who just really wanted, it was kind of like, I think, a nice reunion for them to remember their times at Lincoln. And Meg also came, and because she was really had a big part in the bond projects and really had a special interest in Lincoln. So it was just really a great time of celebration. It was also the time when they did their open house. So there was a book fair and there was a food truck, and it was just really a great time for our whole community and honoring, really it's I think one of our most beloved schools in our district. And it was another great night and a huge really celebration if you think about it. Not only did our community support us in passing a $59.4 million bond, but we managed to go through a pandemic and still get, 2 beautiful brand new buildings built and a remodel of Lincoln on time, and we're still within budget. So I think it takes all of us in a team, and I think that's just really a huge celebration for us in our district. We do have a focus on attendance. It's not just this district, but many districts across the nation are still struggling with attendance. And we really think it's kind of could be still a leftover from COVID. Students kind of used to being at home and kind of still needing to get back in the routine of being at school. So Michelle Bibbich and I are on a attendance cohort along with ESD 105. And we met today. I met with Michelle and Kevin Chersovic and Oli Hall. And we did some brainstorming on who could we reach out to in our community to think about using restorative practices as a way to address especially our chronically absent students. So we're doing a lot of brainstorming around that. And within the cohort, we have opportunities to meet with other principals and superintendents and district level people who work on attendance. And so we're hoping to continue to learn from our colleagues as a part of that cohort. And last thing I want to share with you is we do, Jason, remember when we met with the DEI Commission with the city, which is Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, and they really wanted to, that commission really wanted to partner with the school district as well as with CWU. So Candy Cleary is involved also because she does diversity and equity inclusion at CWU. So we met just recently last week, and I had remembered doing a protocol called the World Cafe, and I had used that before with staff when we needed to kind of problem solve and talk about topics that were a little more difficult to talk about in a regular conversation. And so I shared that idea with Heidi, who is our city manager, and ironically, she had used that same World Cafe with adults before too. So we're like, well, we both have experience with that. Let's take that to, and could we do something like this in Ellensburg as a way to bring people from very diverse backgrounds, and we'd love for our student reps, and I want to be able to share that out. Once this isn't an official poster yet, I want to be able to share with you guys first, and but would love to have some students there too, because it might be something, who knows, that we could even do, with students at some point in our district. But it's really, it's to provide kind of that safe place for people to just respond to a topic or a question that's on the table. And really the main goal is that people feel heard and they just have a chance to share their story. And it's not about convincing somebody of their point of view or anything like that. It's just an opportunity to be heard and to feel valued as part of the community. So we're super excited about it. And if you have an opportunity on the 12th of Saturday from 3 to 5, that's when Sam would love to have board members there too. I think it's going to be a good step for our community to start really bringing us together, similar to what we saw even with our opening ceremony at IDA. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Ginger. Board, any questions? All right. Then that will take us to the students' report.
Hello, I'm Grady Fortier. I was absent at the last meeting, so if you forgot. As of yesterday, we had our very first official student senate meeting, and we were successful in having exactly 15 students there. We got everyone together. It was an incredible meeting. We are really thrilled, and we take pride in what we did, and we're really proud of it. So early September, we met with the superintendent to discuss exactly what the student senate would be, exactly what our goals would be. And we refused to waste any time. We started meeting 2 to 3 times a week to pick a diverse group of 15 kids who would represent the student senate. We wanted leaders, we wanted people in athletics, in theater, in gaming, in code, people from different cultures, different sexualities, all different types of people. And after the meeting, we knew we chose the right people. It was great. We had incredible conversations. We have all seniors, 14 seniors, 1 junior. We were hoping the junior would be able to not pass it on, because we know the superintendent will continue this next year, but we wanted the underclassmen to have some knowledge about what is going on. So we have 1 junior, she's great, Avery Nemro. And all these students are super involved, and we are really, really excited for the next meeting where we really get into it. This one was more of an icebreaker, but we are thrilled with the turnout. And yeah, I'll pass this on to Josephine. She's going to explain what we did at this meeting that I keep hyping up.
Yeah, so at our first meeting, before the meeting, we actually met with the superintendent, and the 3 of us got together. There's another student rep, Reagan. She couldn't be here tonight, and we kind of discussed what we wanted to do at the first meeting, and we ended up starting with an icebreaker question that was brought up by the superintendent, and it was tell a short story about your name. And so we went around the circle and we had everyone do that. And then we moved on to the actual point of the whole meeting, and we decided to start off the first meeting with saying one positive thing about the schools, and then also one thing that we thought students could change or improve. And with that, that kind of leads into things we could talk about at our future student senate meetings. And overall, I think it went really well. It was really cool to get the various different problems from different groups, because with the different cliques of people, everyone kind of has different points of view around the school and different experiences. So it was cool to see that everyone kind of has different things that they want to work on.
And then I'll go into a little more detail about exactly what was discussed and what was brought up. The second icebreaker question was, what is one thing that the school is doing really well, something you really enjoy, and something, a challenge that the school is facing that you would like to be discussed this year in the Student Senate. And a lot of the positives that were shared was staff understanding of how hard the last few years have been for seniors. Because we have a lot of seniors in the Student Senate, that was kind of an overall theme. We feel like we are being understood. It's been a really hard few years. And that was one thing someone touched on and they really appreciated. A lot of students appreciated the option for running start. That was a love by the students. ASB student involvement efforts. People have really appreciated the efforts that this year's exec board and class ASB has put in towards activities and getting the school more involved. That has been a massive struggle the last few years. And even I've noticed that the efforts are there, and it's great this year. We have much more activities compared to previous years. That was another comment. And people have really appreciated the QR codes around the school. People love QR codes. And that is just a vague, quick description of the things that were discussed. A lot more discussions will be had in the following months. But some challenges and things that individuals in the Senate wanted to discuss this year is the knowledge or opportunity for running start. It was really important to some students that the word gets out there more, which I don't know how we can even approach that, but that was one thing that was brought up. Diversity in general, I mean, we knew this would come up. That is the theme that we're always talking about, how to accept culture, how to bring it up more, how to acknowledge it, how to bring everyone together, how to diversify the school. Another thing was making outside school activities more desirable to all different types of students. It was brought up a lot that we have lots of sporty activities, and ASB has tried to tackle this for years, how to have more activities that involve more students. And that was definitely one thing that the Student Senate wanted to deal with. Mental health awareness and mental health in general was another thing that came up a lot. We talked about the Bulldog check-ins that Ellensburg High School is doing. And that was one thing that they definitely wanted to touch on, was mental health awareness. The disconnect conversations being had within the school board towards the school. It was important to specific individuals that they were more aware of the conversations being had in this room. And I don't know how we would approach that, but it was clear that it was important to those students to know what is being conversated. That's not a word. And then another thing that was important was FFA recognition, music recognition, etc. It was clear that people felt like there was a lot of athletic recognition, but they wanted more recognition towards other activities that aren't talked about very much. That's all I have for that. Josephine, take off the next one.
Yeah, so something really cool actually about FFA and music. We have an FFA team getting ready to go off to all nationals. And then also we have a group of 3 students who qualified for all nationals for music. And we have someone from band, me. And then we also have a choir person and an orchestra person. And we'll be going to all nationals in November, and it's in Maryland. So we're pretty excited for that. But back to the Student Senate. Some things that after having our meeting, we decided that there's some things we want to improve. There's 15 people and we only have a half hour to talk. So we want everyone to talk, but we want to kind of put a little timer so that people don't overtalk and we can really make sure we're hearing from everyone and everyone's heard. We also talked about starting to use Google Forms or surveys or discussion boards or something, just because we only meet once a month and we want to be able to get a lot done. So we're thinking if there's ever any questions that we want students to answer or get their input on, we could send it out to the Student Senate in surveys or discussion board questions, or just to talk about topics that we want to focus on in the Student Senate. Another thing we want to improve or add on to, I guess, is involving and possibly sharing notes with the principal of our school and also other staff so that the student voice can be better heard, because that's kind of what this whole thing is about. Moving forward, we want our mission to be to really elevate the student voice and make it heard. That was another thing that was brought up at the meeting, was oftentimes the student voice kind of is, we often get told, let's listen to the adults in the room, even though it concerns us. And we're kind of getting to the point where we want to have a say in things as we're getting older. So with the Student Senate, we really want to elevate the student voice, but also increase the communication and like equalized communication between students and the school board and teachers and principals and whoever really it concerns. We want to make it clear that our goal is to elevate communication and the student voice. We're not here to pick sides. So we're not like fighting for the teachers or fighting for the board or fighting for this person or that person. We're really just fighting for the students and getting that communication. And we're working with the superintendent on this, and we're able to give her input so she can also help improve things throughout the school. And yeah.
And then another really important thing that we have talked about a lot is having an ultimate plan. Of course, the conversations are going to be really beneficial to just get together and hear what the students have to say, hear what the students are noticing, and being able to bring that to you guys, bring that to specific groups that can help with that. Like a lot of the activities that was brought up, like we want more activities that are for this group of kids, and we can bring that to the ASB because the ASB can work on that. The Student Senate can't do much about that, and that was one thing that we acknowledged. But as the year goes by, we're hoping that in the second semester, we can pick a subject that has been brought up a lot and something that we vote on that needs to be changed or improved, and start a service project, whatever that may mean. We will evaluate when the time comes. But that is our goal, to take initiative, because we want to have conversations, but we also want to act. And that is really important to the students. I had a lot of conversations with the students after the meeting. They were like, I really want to be able to do something about the things we're talking about. And I think that's important to everybody. Everybody feels that way. They want what they're having conversations about to be acted on. And so that's really important to us, to bring it to you guys, to have conversations about it, and then hopefully do a service project or something that is long lasting and will last for years to come. Yeah, and so that's everything. That's our Student Senate update. It was an incredible meeting, and we are really looking forward to the months to come.
Excellent. Thank you for all of that information. Board, any questions?
I just want to say it's pretty incredible that you guys got all that done in 30 minutes. So do you meet during school hours, and that's for 30 minutes? When do you guys typically meet?
We meet every second Tuesday at lunchtime. Yes, so it is during lunch hours. This meeting went a little over, so we had to excuse some students, but we're hoping that won't happen. That's why we got the timer idea. But
I just look forward to hearing more from you guys, because that was very informative, and I think sounds like you got a pretty good group of students to make up that Senate. So
I think it's incredible, and I think it lines up with what Denise and Veronica staff was sharing, be the change. Students have a voice and they can be the change, and they can change the world now. You don't have to wait until you actually graduate and are 18. And the whole entire time you were talking, I was like, you're going to love Erin Jones leading the student voice workshops at WASDA, because, yep, you're going to love her and she's going to love you. So.
All right. Again, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to business. First up, we have the OAC bond projects update on Mount Stewart, Ida Nason, and Lincoln.
Yes, so we have Damon Gardella online. Damon, if you'd like to go ahead, did you make, yep, yeah, you can go ahead and bring it up and do the slideshow from your screen if you'd like, Damon.
Okay. Yeah, I just need permission. Can you hear me okay?
We're going to adjust the volume. Leslie's working on that. You were a little muffled. We'll try that again.
Can you hear me now? Is that any better?
Yes, a little bit better. Okay.
And I'm still waiting for permission to share screen as well.
Okay. Thanks, Damon. We can now hear you, so that's good. And,
okay.
And Leslie's working on it. She says you might be signed in twice.
I am because long story short, audio is better on my phone. I'm trying to make this work as best I can here. So I'm sharing screen now, so you should be able to see your screen.
We can see it.
Perfect. Okay. First of all, well, thank you for letting me present to you tonight and give you an update on the bond program, which is coming to its final stages. As you saw from Superintendent Heber's presentation, the ribbon cutting at Lincoln was the third and final ribbon cutting for the bond program, and a little bit bittersweet. It's been really appreciated working on the projects, and it's fun to go to the ribbon cuttings. I love opening new schools, but at the same time, it kind of means that the projects are ending. So that's a little bit, kind of sad. I just want to start out before I get into my update, just to take an opportunity to thank Ellensburg School District, Superintendent Haber, and the school board for allowing myself and OAC to be a part of this bond program and work on these projects and help you open these 3 schools that we have done. It's been a great experience. And I'm really humbled, really thankful. So thank you again for the opportunity. And while we have 3 schools open, that doesn't mean the work's over by any means. We still have a lot of work to do. So with that, I'll go on to my update. So I'll start out with Mount Stewart and Ida. I just combine them together. So we have continued to work with the contractor in the city to complete the punch list. I did talk to the City of Ellensburg official yesterday. There is one open item remaining, and it's we feel it's going to be more of a paperwork type issue to get complete. We just have not been able to get a response from an engineer that we're waiting on. That's affecting Ida. He already said that he's going to start working on getting permanent C of O for Mount Stewart, probably by the end of this week. I don't know if that means we'll get it into the week or if he's just going to start processing. So good news, these 2 projects are finally coming to the final stages of getting the permanent certificate of occupancy, which is great. And then also on Ida, we did complete the 11-month walkthrough a couple weeks ago. Hard to believe it's already been 11 months since we turned it over. And as you know, it was a phased approach to Mount Stewart. So our walkthrough came in October versus in August, like Mount Stewart did. So not anything that is overly complicated that came from that visit. I think we had about 15 items on that list, and Garco has those now entered into the database system, and they will work on completing those. And then I don't have the exact date, but here in another week or so, officially the 1-year warranty period does expire for Ida for the first phase, which is the building. That doesn't include the second phase, which was the landscaping in the exterior. where it's really busy is over at Lincoln. We did have the ribbon cutting. It was a great turnout, I think, and it was really awesome to show off the school. I think that I hope everybody agrees that the concept of keeping the character of the old school and making it as modern as the two new schools was a success, I feel. It's pretty neat. It's pretty unique school. Yeah, well, I was pretty proud that night to have it complete. So just a quick update, we do have some residual work that is going on behind the scenes in the evenings and things like that. Flooring for the most part is now complete. Testing and balancing and commissioning is ongoing, which is pretty standard. We hope to have that all complete by the week of the 24th or the 24th. Electrical, that was today. They had a couple punch list items. Plumbing, we hope to have complete tomorrow. They'll be on site. A couple residual things going on. We are like missing one piece of glass, and glazing right now is a long lead item. It just didn't show up, and they had to reorder it, and we are waiting on it. But unfortunately, it's not even scheduled to be here till November, which is hard to believe. But that's where we're at with construction these days. They're still working on final cleaning. Cleaning some brick and glass and doors and things like that, construction dust, so the cleaning will be ongoing. I did talk to Brandon over at Garco, and I did just kind of pick his mind a little and ask them, hey, what do you think? When do you realistically think we could get certificate of occupancy on this school? And he actually was fairly confident after talking to the different agencies and the rate they're going through the punch list, that he hopes to have it by end of the month. Fingers crossed. It's pretty aggressive. We'll see. But if it's not by the end of the month, it should be soon after that. Like I said, our work is not done. We still have a lot of things to do on these schools to close them out and everything like that. Now that the school is open, we are working on getting the as-built drawings updated and completed, and O&M manuals, paperwork with OSPI, paperwork with LNI. There's a lot of things that go into getting these schools done, as well as getting your final reimbursements from OSPI for the SCAP grant and things like that. So we're not going anywhere. We're still here for at least another year, because their warranty for Lincoln is just now starting, and it's 12 months long. So, again, thank you for this opportunity. It's been awesome. I appreciate it, and I would love to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Damon. Board, any questions? Well, Damon, you are very important to us. It has been a pleasure working with you and having your constant updates. There is a bittersweet part to our relationship, right? We enjoy working with you, but we also are going to celebrate when when everything's finished, right?
Yes.
So my only question would be, I'm really actually so surprised by the expect to receive a C of O at the end of the month for Lincoln. So I have to ask the hard question. So for Mount Stewart, it says very soon.
Yeah, so I talked to, like I said, the city official yesterday, and he said he was going to head out, verify one last time. He was on vacation for a while, so he was coming back, had to verify everything. Talked to him. He did go out to the site. He said that everything was looking good, and he said by the end of the week, he was going to start processing that paperwork and getting it through for the C of O. And like I said, we do have, IDA should be right behind it. We do have one item left. We know what it is. Contractors and the engineer both know what it is. We're just waiting for clarification along with the city. Also, we've all been communicating together. It's been actually really good communication here lately with that. So we really appreciate that. And we will either the work will be done or the engineer will clarify if something else needs to be done. I'm hoping by tomorrow. I was hoping to have an update for you today. I just could not get a return call on it. So I'm hoping by tomorrow I can have that clarified and move forward, which would complete IDA, and then that paperwork, the city can start processing that right behind. So very close. We're getting very, very, very close.
Excellent. No, I appreciate that. No, I'm going to keep asking for dates. So
yes,
the board is very excited to see these projects all finished so that everyone can move forward. So yeah, wonderful. All right. Thanks, Damon.
Thank you.
All right, board. So then the last item for business is a donation to sport teams.
Yes, and I see that Cole Canyer has joined us. And so Cole, if you'd like to go ahead and unmute yourself and just share with us about the donation that we are proposing to the board.
All right, thanks for having me. I can't start my video. Can somebody allow me to do that?
Leslie is working on it.
Well, I can talk about the donation and just start there. So Coach Tim Reve, our new girls basketball coach, approached me about, 3 weeks ago asking about this possibility. And he met with a vendor, and what he would like to do is to purchase sweatshirts, or actually like a zip up sweatshirt for boys and girls basketball, as well as our pep band. And then he'd like travel sweats, which match those sweatshirts to go with our boys and girls basketball programs. And the donation is pretty significant, and it would all have our Bulldog logo on that in navy blue. And so the idea behind it, Coach Hervé thought it would look really awesome to come into our gym and have our kids dressed up in the same stuff as our pep band, and kind of show a unified Bulldog front with between those three groups, boys and girls basketball and our pep band. So the donation amounts right around 20,000, give or take. The quote we received originally was about 25, but I think there might have been some tweaks that have been made to that original document, and we're just waiting for board approval. Coach Hervé would like to purchase the materials and then just have everything delivered to Ellensburg High School upon their completion. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions for you guys.
Just at the start of this conversation, Jason, from this conversation, I will be recusing myself from the conversation and the vote because I have two nieces in the basketball program, a nephew, and my son is in the band. And I've had too many side conversations about this donation.
Thank you, Tasha.
And Jason, unfortunately, due to being part of the basketball program, my son, I have to recuse myself from discussion and voting on this as well.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Can you explain a little bit more about everything that's going to be bought with the money, like how it looks, or is it just our standard? Does it look like the other stuff I would purchase? I just want to clarify.
It's a navy blue zip up Nike jacket. And by jacket, it's a sweatshirt that's a zip up, and navy blue pants that match it. And each one of them would have the logo that you see on my logo right here, the E with the Bulldog, would be on those as well. We originally talked about maybe doing some embroidery, saying basketball and or pep band. And I don't know where we ended up with that, just as an identifier, but essentially these equipment items would be taken into each group's inventory. The pep band, I think we had 80 jackets ordered for the pep band, and then 40 each for boys and girls basketball. And they would just go into their inventory and rotate through each year. As the teams change, the gear would not, as long as we continued to issue it out. So.
Thank you.
So I do think this is a wonderful opportunity, and it's wonderful for the coach to offer such a generous gift to the district. So I definitely want to make sure that I say that. I think that's amazing. Are you aware if there would be any potential conflicts of interest if the board approved this?
I am not aware of any conflicts of interest. There's no personalization that would go beyond our school logo. So this would be material that would be taken into our school inventory and used for our programs that we mentioned before, the basketball for boys and girls and our pep band.
Board, any other questions? So I just want to confirm, so the way I understood it, so this would be, these are warm up, right?
I'm gonna see if I can take a screenshot and then post it into the chat, and then maybe you guys can see it that way.
While you're doing that, I know I guess I'll process a little bit. Sorry, as board chair, you have to deal with me a little bit. I mean, and I want to go back. I think what a generous gift, this sort of opportunity for the district to have, I think is wonderful, because in the end, who is benefiting? My hope is the students. And it seems very clear that that's what this is about, that our students would benefit by having these when they go to events. When they're warming up. So this is great. I also like it from an equity lens, that it's directing, it's not just the athletes, but it's also going to the band. So that's quite amazing there. I think we have 2 board members who accuse themselves, so that means all 3 have to agree if we're going to even vote on this. I know that my only concern would just be, I'd want it to be clear that in a donation, it's a donation and it's focused on students, and that there are no strings attached, meaning that, and I hear from this, that there's nothing on the uniforms that states where it's coming from. There's no any other sort of conflicts of interest. So I'd state for the record, thank you, Cole, for stating that you all have checked this thoroughly to make sure that there are no conflicts of interest, because we definitely would want to address those before we would vote. So, and Cole, were you not able to pull up the screen? I'm checking with Leslie.
I just put the screenshot into the chat, but I
In the
can't
chat.
do anything
Okay.
else.
We'll see if Leslie can pull that up.
It's just the top, but the bottoms are the same color and same kind of design. So.
Okay. All right. No, I think that that's good. I mean, no, just as one board member, I just was concerned. I just wanted to make sure that there's no other advertising. There's no other connections to it. It is solely just ESD.
That is the way that I've understood everything that we've talked about when Coach Hervé and I sat down. Not last week, but the week before. That was what we discussed. So.
All right. So this is being presented to the board as an action item. If there's any further discussion, now would be the time for that. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion or, yeah.
I move that we approve the donation to the sports teams.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right. For the record, Jonathan moved that we approve the donation to sports teams, and Madeline has seconded. Any discussion? All right. Then I will call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have 2. All right, thank you. All right, then that is approved. So again, a big thank you for that substantial donation for our students. This is a great thing for our students moving forward. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cole. All right, board, that will take us to policy. We have one policy up tonight over excused and unexcused absences, and it's policy 3122.
Ms. Spartan, we did a first and a second reading on this, and I think there were some good questions around this that we discussed in our study session. So I am recommending the adoption of this policy.
I move that we adopt policy 3122 in regards to excused and unexcused absences.
I second.
Okay, Mike has moved that we approve policy 3122, and Jonathan has seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to thank Ginger and Bo for getting back to me on the questions that I did ask and to clarify, so.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, then policy 3122 has been adopted. Next, we have board reports. Is there a teaching and learning report?
The only report is that there will be a committee meeting next Tuesday. And so there'll be more to come.
Excellent. Thanks, Tasha. All right, and I understand the Bond and Capital Project Committee met and there's an update posted. Is there a report or a summary or an update?
So yeah, it was interesting. There's, obviously with a new committee and something as important as the bond and capital projects, there's a lot that is going to be needed to clarify. They were discussing a large list that was, I think, called the 40-year list that will need to be readdressed. One of the things that out of the conversation we came up with is probably having a much shorter timeline on more important projects and not quite looking at so far out, but looking at a much closer, no further out than 2 to 5 years. Obviously, still things are going to be on the list, such as, new schools, roofs, whatnot. But I was driving, so I was listening in, not zooming in. But yeah, there is a lot that will need to be addressed. I think we brought up several things, new roof on Lincoln, parking lot issues over at Valley View. They did bring up the football field because that was on a previous list from before that was brought up again. And several other things that I'll have to go back and reread the minutes on a few of those. But I think moving forward, we've got a pretty good group to concentrate on the more important things. And yeah, did you?
We also asked to see a little bit more, get more detail about the condition of certain like the fields, or get pictures, and then there are these state requirements, which we're going to continue to talk about because that could obviously take priority and cut a lot of what we want off the list. And just that historical knowledge, like Mike was saying, making sure, not planning far out, and then that stuff might never get done because then you're a news cycle and that gets pushed out again. So we don't want that to happen.
Well, thank you for your important work on that committee. That committee sounds very important moving forward. So especially with all these new buildings, now we really need to focus on this. So thank you for that update. Board, any questions? All right. I have no board chair report. So that will take us right into public comment. So I will ask Leslie to get us set up after that. All right. The board will allot up to 60 minutes as the total time allotted for public comment this evening, and each speaker will have up to 3 minutes of time. The board is not obligated to provide additional public comment time to accommodate everyone in attendance. The board is not obligated to respond to questions or challenges made during the public comment period, and the board's silence will not signal agreement nor endorsement of any speaker's remarks. In my capacity as board president, I may terminate an individual's remarks when the allotted time has passed. I may also interrupt or terminate any speaker who is making uncivil comments. Uncivil comments include, but are not limited to, obscene comments, comments that are defamatory towards another person, or commentary that is an unwarranted invasion of privacy. The board reserves the right to have anyone removed who refuses to adhere to the rules and creates a material or substantial disruption to the meeting. Personnel matters are generally private and administrative in nature. Constructive criticism can be helpful. At the same time, the board has confidence that in its staff and programs will react to protect them from unwarranted criticism or disruptive interference. Complaints or concerns received by the board or any board member will be referred to the superintendent and will not be considered or discussed by the board in this setting. I'd ask that you respect staff members' privacy and consider putting any comments you have in writing if they pertain to a personnel matter. The board can then review and forward those to appropriate administrator. All right, Leslie, are we set up? All right, perfect. So one last thing, individuals in person wishing to speak or wishing to be heard by the board need to be signed up. So make sure you've signed up to speak, and those on Zoom, you need to have your names, put your name in the document in the Zoom chat box. If you are on Zoom and you're unable to do this, just make sure we recognize you by using the icon or emoji to show you're raising your hand for public comment. Once the board calls on an individual, they will need to identify themselves by stating their name and address for the record. Individuals will proceed to make their comments within 3 minutes. Leslie, are we ready? All right, we'll start with anyone in person first.
My name is Marla Beaker, 302 North Pacific Street in Ellensburg. The topic I'd like to bring up is the transfer program for the elementary attendance zones. I know I spoke with Superintendent Haber via email about this, but I just don't feel like I had a satisfactory resolution to it. My son is a 4th grader. He did kindergarten through 3rd grade at Lincoln and was very excited to go back to brand new Lincoln. We put in for a transfer, and along with that, I know of 2 other families of 4th grade students that also put in for transfers that were in district. The issue, all 3 of them were denied their transfers, which I understand. You can't let everyone. The issue I have is that 2 out-of-district students from Kittitas and Damon were granted their transfers to Lincoln. In the policy, the district's policy that was approved by the board, all out-of-district students should have been a 5th priority. All in district were either 1 through 4, depending on their situation. I guess I'm just confused why 2 5th priority students would be put ahead of 3 and 4 priority students. It's saddening and it's maddening because you want things to be fair, and obviously that what doesn't seem fair in my eyes. So that's one issue. My other issue is something that is kind of backed up with what Joanne said about being outside and on the land and taking care of things. Well, when you drive between Mount Stewart and Ida, there's a bunch of district property that is covered in weeds. There's 4-foot high prickly lettuce and knapweed and rush skeleton, which are noxious weeds. And the district's not taking care of that. I know there was a landscape contractor that was, when we were up here at Ida for Lincoln, that was running around doing all kinds of work, like pretty much the whole year. And I just encourage someone to look into compliance on that because it looks terrible. And we should be responsible for that land and take care of it. And if I were a neighbor here, I would be going nuts seeing all this weed seed blowing into my yard constantly. So I just encourage you to take a look at that contract with your landscape contractor and do something about those weeds because it's just sad and it's like you're not taking care of these great new buildings that we have. And it's not a beautiful approach. Let's put it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so Leslie has just informed me that there is no one else in person signed up for Zoom or for chat. Sorry, not for chat. Sorry, I'm getting tired. For public comment. And so I'm just verifying for Zoom. This is our last chance. We have no one who has signed up. So we're just verifying, Leslie and I are verifying that we're not missing any raised hands. And with that, I am not seeing any as well. So we are going to go ahead and I will close public comment. All right, so that takes us to new business. And the only thing on new business that we have is proposed items for future consideration. Is there anything from the board or from Ginger?
I just would like to potentially discuss the high school lunchtime in a study session, or I'm going to send Ginger some questions and maybe you can get some answers for me. But I just figured I believe it's down to one lunch period now, and I've heard of a lot of confusion or not confusion, a lot of trouble getting lunches and things like that. And I just want to get a few questions asked.
That'd be great. Mike, if you want to send me the questions and then I'll send those out to everybody with the response. And then if we decide we want to put it on study session, we can bring that up on an agenda setting. Be glad to look into those questions for you.
Great. Any other proposed items for future consideration? No? All right, then we are going to meeting closing. So any clarification and next steps? There are none. Okay. Do we have an executive session? We do not. Is there anything for board calendar? Okay. Just for board calendar real quick, just to verify for sorry, I just want to make sure that that's on everybody's calendars, that we have that set and there's no surprises there. Okay. And the days again are, Ginger, she's going to pull those.
November 17th through the 19th.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
And that's also, just to double check for board calendar, is the certification process for the public meetings. I think 3 of us were in that last year. We were certified, but I think that 2 of you might have to be certified. And it's another meeting. Yeah.
Thank you for that reminder. Yes.
I also sent you guys the equity training requirement. You guys are on the waiting list for that. Like Leslie called right away and it was immediately full. But we also got information that they're going to do a virtual one starting in January. So we'll look for those opportunities to make sure we get those out to you guys.
The only question I had on board calendar, the PLC Zoom that's tomorrow is not a board commitment. You're just wanting us to have a better understanding of what's going on in the PLCs.
Yes. So when we join the solution tree cohort with all the other districts, it's really that idea, which is true, that it's a systemic change. So it's not just a change, that happens at school, but to be able to support teachers and their work, principals need to understand that process, superintendent leadership, and the board needs to understand that as well. And, with our early release Wednesdays and the resource that we put towards it, the more more that the board is able to understand what the importance of the professional learning communities and why we're putting that side of time aside for teachers and why we're putting the resource into that. It just helps, if community members come up to you and ask you that question, or we have continued requests around resources for that. It's just a better understanding for the whole board to be able to support it.
Would it be fair to say that I think the PLCs are also very much aligned with the superintendent evaluation, right? Like it's for as far as setting priorities. So I know that I'm finding that very helpful in what we've kind of asked. So that's helpful.
And really a lot of those areas of focus that you have for me are very much tied to the PLC process as well. So that's another way that it can be helpful.
All right, thank you. Nothing else for board calendar? All right, Leslie, I'm assuming we have documents to sign? Just for me. Oh, how wonderful. All right, I will stick around to sign. That will take us to adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
All right, for the record, Mike moved that we adjourn and Tasha seconded.
I didn't want to get too eager.
Thank you, board. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone who attended. Have a good night.